emotional health. So emotional health is the ability to understand your emotions and respond in a healthy manner. Emotional health refers to your well-being and the way someone views and lives a life of well-being. So it's basically like how you approach life. And so why is emotional health important? You know, how does your emotional health affect you? Well, it could affect your physical health. So people will tend to maybe get sick often, their immune system will be down. You know, again, it's your emotional health. Relationships, there might be conflicts, arguments, because you are maybe more irritable. Academic studies, grades might start going down. Maybe something that might have been easy for you becomes difficult. Ability to concentrate. You might be constantly worried about something, so you are not able to concentrate in class. Ability to make good decisions. Your judgment might not be very clear, so you might make poor decisions. Ability to recognize the good in your life. So you might have a hard time recognizing everything that you have going for you, you know, all the positive things in your life. Ability to see a positive future. So you might get like tunnel vision where you just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can't see things getting better. All you see is things getting worse. So it's difficult to see a positive future. So what can affect your emotional health? Well, actually students rate school as one of their top stressors, one of their top reasons that might affect their emotional health. The demands of classes, the high expectations that they either put on themselves or they get externally. Relationships, conflicts, arguments, and it might affect your relationships with friends, with family, society. Well, society, well, let's talk about what's happening now. So what I mean is what's happening in our world. So for example, right now with the pandemic, with COVID-19, with the recent fires, with race and equity being raised to the surface right now in our society, those are all things that might affect our emotional health. The news. So maybe too much news is not good for you. You might want to step away. You might want to turn off the TV when you're starting to feel overwhelmed by all the external exposure that you're getting from the news. Social media. So social media can be positive, but it also can have a negative effect on people's emotional health. Sometimes students will connect their self-esteem with social media. They will compare their lives to what their friends or others are posting on social media. They will connect if people like them through social media. There's a cyberbullying that happens on social media. So again, that can affect their emotional health. Problems at home. If something's going on at home, students bring that to school. And sometimes they're not able to concentrate in class because they're thinking about what's going on at home. Immigration status. Students will be preoccupied with maybe being deported or their family, their parents being deported. So that's a constant worry. Social and economic status. Right now, during COVID-19, you know, many families have lost their jobs. So students are concerned about finances at home. don't want to put any more stressors onto their parents, and maybe feel like they need to take on some financial responsibilities, maybe get a job. So employment job, maybe their job might cause stress. And futures, for some of our students, they're concerned about, will I get into college? You know, college right now is very competitive. Will I be able to afford college? So they're maybe constantly thinking about their future. And I know that for our seniors, thinking about their future is very common. Physical health, you know, if someone is ill, then that definitely affects their emotional health. If they're dealing with if they're constantly feeling sick and missing school, then that definitely affects their emotional health. And so one of the areas that we see in the Teen Resource Center, and that we have done a survey with students and asked them to rate the different issues that our students are dealing with. And one of the top things is depression. So I wanted to kind of share with you what are some signs of depression, so that you can see if your child might be exhibiting some of these signs. So some of them are frequently feel sad or without hope. For example, they might again might feel like, well, you know, I don't have a future. I don't see a future for myself right now. You know, loss of interest or pleasure in activities, maybe something that they really enjoy doing. For example, a sport, dance, hanging out with their friends. None of that brings joy to them anymore. Changes in appetite or level of energy. So you might notice that there's a change in their appetite. Maybe they're tired all the time. Maybe they don't want to do anything because they feel tired. And that's connected to also difficulty sleeping or oversleeping. You might notice that all they want to do is sleep. They don't want to get out of bed. They don't feel, what's the use of getting out of bed? Difficulty concentrating or making decisions. Maybe, again, their judgment is fogged. It's hard for them to make decisions. Things that maybe were easy for them to make decisions on, now it becomes difficult. Feelings of guilt or failure, worthlessness. So sometimes they might feel like, I'm not going to amount to anything. They feel guilty that they're letting you down. They're letting their teachers down. They're not meeting up to people's expectations. Thoughts of death or suicidal thoughts. I mean, they might begin to have suicidal thoughts. And these signs would last for at least maybe two weeks. So it's not like you just see this for a day and then they're fine and they're going out with their friends and they're laughing. It's usually this lasts for more than 2 weeks. It lasts for a while. I also want to note that around the sleep, yes, and you know, during adolescence tend to want to sleep more, right? And we were seeing that last semester where students were waking up pretty late and missing their Zoom classes. So that can also be a typical adolescent behavior where they will want to tend to sleep in late. So let's see. And then the other issue that we tend to see is stress. So that's another issue that students rank high. And stress, you know, it's a feeling of emotional tension, and it comes from event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. It's your body's reaction to a challenge or demand and short bursts. Stress, it can be positive. So stress doesn't necessarily have to be negative. There's a stress that can be positive. For example, stress can help you prepare for a test. It can help you prepare for an interview. It can help you meet deadlines. Stress can be it's common in our daily lives, and again, it could be either positive or negative. And coping with the impact of chronic stress can be challenging. And the long-term stress is more constant. And when you're dealing with constant stress, your body doesn't usually get that signal of like, let's return to normal functioning, because the stress is always there. And some of the like chronic stress could be, let's see, let me give an example. It could be living with a terminal illness or having a family member with a terminal illness. It could be living in a home environment or a neighborhood that there's a lot of violence. It could just be constantly having to do well in school, that you're constantly feeling like you have to do well in school. And that's your constant stress. Okay. So stress becomes a problem when it significantly affects your sort of daily life, your emotional well-being, your self-care, your ability to function at home, at school, work, or in your personal relationships. Let's see. And sometimes stress can develop into panic attacks, and we often will see this in some of our students at Sequoia. And I wanted you to be able to recognize this and sort of understand if your child is going through a panic attack. So a panic attack is the abrupt onset of intense fear or discomfort, and it usually peaks within minutes. And it rarely lasts more than an hour, and it's usually ending like in 20 minutes. But panic attacks can cause a lot of fear. When you get a panic attack, you might feel like you're losing control, having a heart attack, like you're gonna die. That's how it feels. If you know of anyone that deals with panic attacks, that's what they will describe to you. So what are the symptoms of panic attacks? So some of the symptoms when someone is having a panic attack is fear something bad or dangerous is about to happen. You get this feeling in the pit of your stomach that something bad or dangerous is going to happen. Fear of losing control or dying. Heart palpitations or racing heart. You get maybe a chest pain. That's why some people describe it as if they're feeling like they're having a heart attack. Trembling, shaking, numbness or tingling sensations, shortness of breath, choking, hyperventilation, chills or sweating, feeling unreal or detached from your surroundings. And let me explain a little bit of that. Some students will come in and they will describe that they are not even aware of where they're at. And because they are so focused on the panic attack and dealing with the symptoms, okay? Some students will get a headache, upset stomach, nausea. There's some students that during a panic attack, they feel so nauseous that they need to vomit. Feeling dizzy, lightheaded, or faint. So as you could tell, these symptoms are not fun, and they're really real for our students. Let's see. Well, let me go back to this for a second. So at Sequoia, when a student has a panic attack, usually a teacher will have them escorted to the Teen Resource Center or the health office. And when a student arrives with us, the first thing that we do is try to calm them down, try to regulate their breathing, try to bring them back into their bodies. Then once that happens, then we're able to talk about what triggered the panic attack, right? And our goal is to keep them in school. Many parents will ask me, I don't want my child to miss class. I don't want them to go home. So our goal is to get them to a place where they feel like they could go back to class or at least stay in school. Okay. So, what are some unhealthy ways that maybe students deal with the stress or depression or anxiety is that they may use alcohol or other drugs, and some students will describe as, they're self-medicating. They're trying to numb what they feel. They're trying to numb their painness. They're trying to avoid the problem. Some students may use violence, so they might get into fights. Sometimes angry outbursts or anger can be, depression could be masked, right, by anger. And all we see is the anger, but deep inside it's because they're not feeling good about themselves. Sometimes they'll tend to isolate themselves. They'll stop hanging out with friends. All they want to do is be in their room. And, they'll stop answering calls from their friends. Sometimes they'll take their feelings out on others. Parents are easy targets. Other family members, their siblings, teachers, sometimes that's where, conflict might arise in the classroom because they might be taking it out. Partners or significant others, friends, they might take it out on friends. I've had in the past where students will come in and concerned about a friend and say, this is not, I'll just use a fictitious name, Maria, this is not how she is. And now she's always angry at us. She's always, so sometimes again, they take it out on their friends. And self-harm, sometimes students will resort to self-harm, and it's not that they're suicidal, but it's the way for them to deal with the pain. And if you ask many students, they will say, it's a way for me to numb the pain. And some healthy ways to respond is exercise. So if you talk to any doctor or to any therapist, they will recommend exercise. Exercise is a great positive coping skill. Walking, swimming, running, doing yoga, dance. I mean, that's all great stuff. Art, so drawing, painting. Sometimes students that have a difficult time expressing in words how they feel, they might be able to use art to be able to express their feelings. Listen to music. A lot of students will describe that that's one of the number one things they use to be able to deal with stress or anxiety is to listen to music. Sometimes when students come into the Teen Resource Center and they're really upset about something, we'll tell them to take 5 minutes to listen to some music. They calm down, and then they're ready to come into our office to talk about what's going on. Dance, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes students will feel that, you know, hey, Ms. Romero, when I'm on the dance floor, you know, I forget about everything. You know, it's my way to get all my feelings out. Spend time with family. It's really important to spend time with family. Spend time with friends. Spend time with pets. Pets can definitely provide that emotional support. And I don't know if you've heard that, you know, many people are getting notes from their doctors regarding um, having a pet as a safe pet, as an emotional support. Talk to someone. And I tell students, you know, if you don't feel comfortable talking to a therapist, you don't want to go to a therapist, at least talk to someone. You know, talk to a teacher that you trust, talk to a coach, talk to your favorite aunt. I mean, just talk to a friend, talk to someone. Sometimes, you know, just crying. Sometimes being able to cry and let everything out definitely helps students. Other ways to respond in a healthy way is write down your thoughts and emotions. You know, keep a journal. Again, for students that might have a hard time verbalizing how they feel, is writing down how they feel, and noticing patterns of how they feel and what triggers those patterns. Accept that you're not perfect. You know, no one is perfect. And some of the students that have really high expectations on themselves, I say, look, no one is perfect. It's okay to fail. You know, failure is just another way of learning. Accept that there are things out of your control. There might be things that they can't control. All you're able to do is control yourself, but you can't control other people's behavior. Positive thinking. This is really important. You know, we do a lot of positive self-talk, but surround yourself with positive people. Get involved in positive activities. So some of these pictures that you see here are at the bottom is our pictures of our youth advisory board from the Teen Resource Center. And there's students that have decided, like, hey, I'm not going to sit back and just complain about things. I'm actually going to do something positive and take action. And some of these students might have had friends or family members or themselves that have dealt with mental health issues, but they want to get the word out. They want to educate their peers. So again, it's, you know, getting involved in positive things, looking at the world in a positive way versus a negative. Forgive. So sometimes, you know, we hold on to grudges, we hold on to things, and it's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for us to hold that in our bodies. So breathing exercises are really important. Just take the time to breathe, meditate. We're really big on mindfulness at Sequoia. So we've been training teachers for several years at Sequoia to implement mindfulness in their classes. Some of the teachers will use mindfulness right before a test, a quiz, during transition times. Some teachers will do full lessons on mindfulness on Mondays. So we're really big on mindfulness. We have a class in the Teen Resource Center that teaches students mindfulness practices. So let me just explain what mindfulness is. It's the act of being present in the moment. So to calm sort of the voices, noise, thoughts, and focus on the moment. Mindfulness calms the brain. It improves concentration. It improves sleep. It decreases stress. It lowers blood pressure. It increases gratitude. Many big companies are using mindfulness, Google, Facebook, you know, a lot of professional sports teams are using mindfulness as well. So there's a lot of research that has been conducted on mindfulness and the positive things about mindfulness. So with that said, the school district, Sequoia Unified School District, has adopted a mindfulness app. It's called the Atlas app, and students can register for free. It's free for all students and families, and they registered using their Sequoia email. And a lot of teachers began to use it last semester and really encouraged their students to use it. In the Atlas app, there's journaling, daily journaling, there's positive thoughts, there's meditation, and some teachers are having their students use it on a daily basis. And then some other apps that we encourage students to use is calm.com and Headspace. You might be familiar with those apps. Again, they're focused on mindfulness. There's guided visualization and breathing exercises. So these are all really good stuff. And what I tell students is, hey, download this on your phone. And so you could use this at home. You know, you could use this on your own. Whenever you feel that you're starting to feel stressed or anxious, you can use this on your own, wherever, at school, at home. And then how can you support your child? One thing is being patient. And I know that's not easy. You know, I'm a mom myself, and it's not easy all the time to be patient. But I would encourage you to do so. Listen without judgment, and I'll explain to you that when students start to feel they're being judged, they shut down. They're not going to talk to you anymore. They'll do that to teachers. They'll do it to us. I mean, they'll do it to parents, to friends. Like, again, if they feel judged, you know, they're going to shut down. Be honest with your child. You know, be honest with them. Have open communication. And what I mean by that is, you know, letting your child know, hey, you could always come to me whenever you want to talk. You could always come to me when you have a problem. You know, I want to know about what's going on at school. I want to know about what's happening with your friends. And then model positive behavior. So if you expect certain behavior from your child, then I would expect that you model that as well. So what I mean is, like, if you don't want them to be yelling at home, then try not to do that yourself. If you don't want them to be drinking and using drugs, then model that behavior, right? Don't get behind the wheel when you've been drinking, you know, with your children. So again, it's modeling that positive behavior, modeling breathing exercises, modeling that you exercise, modeling that you're trying to eat better. So again, just modeling the positive behavior. Be empathetic. What I mean by that is put yourself in their shoes. Try to remember what it's like to be a teen. I know it's not easy, but again, try to put yourself in their shoes. Try to understand what it's like to be a teenager right now, with all the issues that are happening with social media, with just high expectations at school, competitiveness in college. Pay attention to changes in behavior. You know, again, notice the changes in your child. Family time. I know everybody's busy, but try to make time to spend with your family. You know, right now, especially with COVID-19, that we're not able to go out. Maybe sit down and watch a movie with them. Maybe do a board game. Listen to music. Maybe go take a walk as a family. Consequences, but also rewards. So I want to say that there's definitely times where you're going to have to give them consequences, right? And be consistent about that. And so if you're going to give them a consequence, then mean it. You know, follow through, so that they don't feel like, oh, well, my mom, my dad just says that, but, you know, they're not going to follow through. But as equally as consequences are important, rewards are also important. So it's really important for your child to hear from you that, hey, I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud that you're doing well in school. Thank you for helping me with your little sister, with helping her do homework. Thank you for helping me, make the meal for the family today. It's really important for them to hear those things. Those things are actually more valuable than any material thing you can give them, okay? Participate in your child's school. It's really important to participate in, back to school night, open house, maybe volunteer in at Sequoia, and Ms. Macias can share with you some of those opportunities. And then take time for your own self-care. And this is really important for parents. I really want to share this, that we need time to also do self-care. And I want you to think about, and I know you might have heard this many times, but if you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks fall, the flight attendant will tell you, and if you're with a child, they'll tell you, first put your oxygen mask on and then your child. You have to be well. You have to be healthy in order to be able to help your children. So I want definitely keep that in mind, because your self-care will trickle down to them. And then seek professional help for your child if needed. So if you realize that, my child needs help, then I would really encourage you to get the professional help for them. I know that in some families that's feel there's stigma for that, and you feel like, no, I want to take care of this within my family. But there comes a time where your child might need professional help. Okay. Okay. And I just want to say a little bit about the Teen Resource Center. As I mentioned, I'm the director of the Teen Resource Center. And on campus, we're located next to the health office, and we're open from 8:45 to 5 o'clock. We stay open after school because we know that some students will want to come and see us after school. During distance learning, we've transitioned to telehealth. So we're providing all the services through Zoom, through phone calls, through Google Meets, by any means necessary. So we are still available, and I want to encourage you to reach out, or your child to reach out to us. Again, everything is remote right now. We hope to get back on campus at some point. But some of the services we provide are counseling. We provide individual counseling, group counseling, mentoring. We match students with a mentor to help them stay on track. And mindfulness, again, we teach students different mindfulness practices. Conflict mediation, we help students mediate conflicts among their peers, or if there's a major conflict. And youth development programs, we have a youth advisory board that your children could get involved in. Again, if they want to do something positive, the youth advisory board is the youth voice of the center, and they get involved in different campaigns, different activities. And then we do a lot of health education. We do a health fair every year. We did a health conference last year. We have speakers in classrooms. So there's a lot of health education. And you see there my phone number, my extension, and my email. So if you need to get a hold of me, you can. And then I'm going to turn it over to Amelia.
Hello. So like I stated, I am one of the counselors. There are actually 6 of them. So if you can see in the little picture below, that's the 6 counselors that each of your students will have. We are open. Our counseling office is open 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So before school and after school. Again, our approach is to support students with the following. So we help them with academics, college and career, and social emotional development. And if you want to go to our page, the link is below. And Judy, I believe this is going to be sent to parents too, or available?
We can, yeah.
Okay. And we can also post it on our website, which is
It will be available in the Sequoia Family Center YouTube channel.
okay. Next slide, please, Judy.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I know there's a lot on this page, so I'm not going to go through every single thing, but just to give you a better idea of the academic development piece. So we do focus a lot on that, or one of the pieces that we focus on is academics. We support your students with their scheduling, finding the resources or the help. We need to connect them to tutoring. If they need help like with their pathways, so we do 4-year pathways with students. We also will speak with students that are severely deficient in credits. So if they're falling behind and, you know, we need to come up with a plan to make up those credits. We also help with communication. So sometimes if your student is having a hard time with communicating with a teacher or another staff member, they can come to us and we can facilitate that. Or even with their parents, right? We sometimes do have students that come in and say, like, I have a hard time communicating this with my mom or my dad or my whatever the guardian is. So that is something that we can help the student as well. And the parents can also come to us. So we are kind of that liaison for the students and the parents, also the teachers. So we support students in their academic progress. It can be for medical reasons. We also will sometimes have conferences. In the spring, we will have conferences where we select classes for the students. And in the fall, we have senior meetings with all our students. And after 10 weeks, we also meet with our 9th graders after the progress report. So that is something that with your 9th graders after 10 weeks, if they do fall under the D or an F, then, or if they have a D or an F in one of their classes, then we will be meeting with them. Next slide. Okay, and then the college and career development piece. So we do have 2 college and career counselors now, but we work closely with them. So this is also when we're setting up meetings with your students and we're talking about like course selections, we are thinking of a post-secondary options for them. Like, what do you want to do after high school? So let's set up a plan for this. We connect students with a Naviance program, which connects, like they can have a resume on there. They can have like surveys for us on there. They do like career exploration on there. So we provide all of this, and then we typically would go into the classrooms in the fall and do this with 10th and 11th graders. But we will figure out a way to do it through Zoom this year. But with the 9th graders, we really just come in and kind of tell them and give them a little snippet of what it is. So this will apply more for like 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. We also ensure that the students scheduled in their courses meet their the graduation requirements and their post-secondary plans. So if a student comes in 9th grade and they say, I want to be able to apply to these schools, and we're like, okay, so let's make sure that you are on track to do that, to be able to do that. We also work closely with the IB, coordinator and the IB office. So the IB office, College Career Center, and the counseling office all work together. We provide presentations for students. We also will help students with the university application process. Again, working closely with the College and Career Center there, but we will do financial aid presentations. And when the students are applying to private universities, or if they need a scholarship or a letter of rec for a scholarship, that will be on the counselors. The counselors will provide a letter of rec for all students. So again, if you have any more questions about the college and career development piece, you can always address your student's counselor or the college and career counselor. Next, please. Okay, the last piece, and I know Judy has gone over a lot of emotional, social, and development, but that is also part of our domain. We do some social emotional development with the students. So we do support students in teaching them how to advocate for themselves. So we always get students saying like, oh, can you do this for me? Or it's easier if you do this. But we do always encourage students to do it themselves, because that is a skill that they will need later in life. So just with a little practice, we may say, okay, I'll do it this time. Next time, I'm gonna, coach you through the process of advocating for yourself. We encourage students to explore their passions, their interests, join a club, sports. Again, this year it looks a little different, but just exploring those hobbies for students will help them, like Ms. Romero said, having something that is a stress reliever in a healthy way is good for students. So we will talk to them about personal reasons if they are in a mental crisis. If they do ever get hospitalized and they need a return to school plan, that will be done with us, and then we'll include Ms. Romero and sometimes our intervention counselor. So there are a lot of people that are looking out for your students and are here and are available for all students. We also do help if they possibly need a different education plan offered by the school district, again, for medical reasons or special circumstances. And we do refer students to the TRC, so the Teen Resource Center, with Ms. Romero, whether that means, therapy or a mentor or other thing, or joining a group. We do that referral. And again, we're in close communication with Ms. Romero and her team, so we can see what is best for the student, including the student, the parents, and seeing what plan can we create for the student. So we are this liaison to facilitate all of this. And again, we collaborate with the intervention counselor, admin, and all staff about social, emotional, behavioral, or academic difficulties. If necessary, we also will collaborate and exchange confidential information, student information. So we do get a form. We have a form for that, a release of information. And you may need one from myself or from Ms. Romero, where we can communicate if the student is having outside therapy or is hospitalized, so we can communicate with the hospital or the therapist. That is just something to kind of keep in mind, that if we do ask you for that, that's usually so we can communicate and they can communicate with us. Next slide. And some of those school resources, so what we have available here at the school for your students are, we do have the Boys and Girls Club, which is, they do provide like dinner to go services. They have fresh produce boxes. They also provide tutoring for the students. So this is a great resource that is available to you all. We typically have Upward Bound from Kenyatta College. This year, they have not reached out to us about how they are doing it. But typically, they have their, they also help with tutoring. So once we have more information, we will provide that for you all. There's the Foundation for College Education, the Redwood City Public Library. So these are all resources that you can use and are available to you all. And even within Sequoia, we have tutoring in the school library. Again, I'm going to keep saying that this year is a little bit different, but once we have more information on how tutoring will look like this year, that will go out to the students and parents. But we also provide other programs. So we have the AVID program, BUILD. We have 2 academies, the Health Careers Academy and the Digital Arts Academy, and other courses for student interest. The importance of these programs is that it does help students when they elect one of these programs. It helps them kind of get a little, like a smaller group of students that they are connected with, and they expand their support system, because typically in these programs, the staff will remain the same, and they are supportive because they have a smaller set of students, and they will get to know the students a little bit better. This also can be helpful when a student is applying to college, and if they had their avid teacher for all 4 years, or an avid teacher that has known them for a long time, then this can be a better letter of recommendation versus a teacher that had this student for 1 year and they were one of 35 students, and they may or may not fully remember everything the student did. So joining a program can help your student and their experience in school in Sequoia. So we do encourage students to look in these programs, or join a club, or join a sport.
Okay. Thank you, Amelia. And we just wanted to list a few community resources. Star Vista's Crisis Line. Again, if anyone in your family or were to feel like I need to talk to someone immediately over the phone because they're having suicidal thoughts, here's the crisis line. They're open 24 hours. There's also a number for Spanish. The Cora crisis line is Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse. It's for domestic violence. That's their crisis line. CARA is for grief counseling if you're dealing with a loss in your family. Rape Trauma Services is support for victims of sexual assault. Again, it's a 24-hour crisis line. El Centro de Libertad, or the Freedom Center, is support for those dealing with alcohol and other drug abuse. Star Vista Insights is support for youth dealing with alcohol and other drugs. Behavior and Health and Recovery Services is part of the health department, it's part of the county, and they can give you referrals. If let's say you have Medi-Cal and you're looking for a therapist, they can give you a referral. And then the San Mateo County Pride Center is supports for LGBTQ plus youth. So these are some of the resources that might be helpful. So now, any questions that you may have, we're going to open it up to questions. And if you have a question, you may ask. Amelia, are you able to look at the chat to see if there was any?
There's no questions right now.
Okay.
Questions in the chat.
All right. So does anyone have a question for us or something they want us to clarify? You may unmute yourself.
Yeah, mute yourself.
No?
I know there was a lot
Hi.
of.
Hi. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question, and I am Mercedes. I'm mother of incoming Sequoia. I just wanted to ask you if by any chance you guys are gonna send this presentation to all the parents.
So Elvira mentioned, Elvira, where did you say you were going to post this?
We're gonna post this in the Sequoia Family Center YouTube video, the channel for Sequoia Family Center. It will be there. We're also holding another one in Spanish later today at 7. If for any of you, if you want to attend that one, but it will be recorded both in English and Spanish in the Sequoia Family Center.
And Elvira, if it's okay with YouTube, we can probably put it. We can give it to Hoxie, and she can probably put it on the Sequoia guidance.
Yeah,
page.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And
Ask for a school directory.
Yeah, this is John. Thank you guys very much for presenting this. You may want to consider doing this again in English after work hours, because it looks like we don't have a huge crowd, and I'm assuming a lot of people are working. I know my wife wanted to attend as well, and she couldn't get away.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving us that feedback. Okay. Okay. Any other questions that people may have? No?
There's a couple in the chat now.
Okay.
It said, is the CARA program just by the phone number, or you guys have it at the school?
No, yeah, CARA is a community agency, and their main focus is grief counseling. At Sequoia, in the Teen Resource Center, through our counseling services, we do some grief counseling for students. You know, students are sometimes referred to us if they've just lost their grandparent or they lost a friend. We will provide some short-term grief counseling. Yeah.
So the school directory, is that for staff school directory? We do have one usually in our website. Is that correct, Emilia and Judy?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you go to the, so if they're looking for something more specific, they can check like the sequoiahs.org, but there's also a district one they can check for staff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you need to get in touch with me, or your child would like to get in touch with me, right now it's best to reach me through my email, which is the J Romero, ROMERO @seq.org, and then I'll respond. I'll reach out to your child.
And I just added the link for the staff directory for Sequoia on the chat, so that's available to you all. We do have the Sequoia guidance website, so if you want to check that out, we have a good amount of resources there for you too. And we do have 3 secretaries as part of the guidance department. So Myra Melchor, Julia Solari, and Jerry Port. So we may sometimes connect you with one of our secretaries if it is more of a like Infinite Campus question where you're like, oh, I don't have my login for this or my Canvas, and then we may connect you with them and Elvira. They can also help you with that. But more of like those technical questions, we'll usually refer you to our secretaries. But if it is more like a scheduling question or a specific class or issue with like a teacher or just probably just like the course, then that will be brought to our attention. But certain like small like, oh, the email on Infinite Campus is incorrect, like that would go to our secretaries.
Thanks for this staff directory. Is there a student directory? I know I was asking my son how he could connect with some of his classmates in each class to develop that sort of support structure, and he was unaware of how to do that.
As far as I know, there is not a student directory.
I believe in Canvas, you may have the option to email like the class. I will double check right now, but I believe it does have that option on Canvas where you can email your classroom or the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's feasible or the privacy issues, but maybe consider how they make individual connects so they can develop that network of support among their peers without having to globally send something out to the class, which obviously, you know, they're going to be embarrassed to put themselves out there to 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably something that feedback we can bring back to the teachers and maybe ask them if they can send like the email list of every student in the classroom to each student, and the student could individually reach out so they don't have to send it to the whole class. But I think providing the emails isn't necessarily something that's too intrusive. So I think that's something that we could ask of the teachers.
And I know that Corey Uhaldi, who is our student activities coordinator, he is putting together all of the student clubs because Sequoia has many student clubs, and it's a way for students to meet, you know, to develop new relationships and get involved. And he's in that process right now. And then we usually have in September a club day, and I think he's hoping to do something virtually so that students can learn about the different clubs that they can be involved in. Any other questions? No. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much for everyone for coming. I know it's 10 o'clock and it was kind of early, but maybe I appreciate your input, and then we'll try to do other ones in the afternoon, in the evenings for everyone to attend. Thank you very much. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Amelia, and hope to see you guys the next time we have another presentation. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.